share, and subscribe.
I want to ask you first, are you open at all to changing any provision in the 1987 Constitution?
Of course, I'm open, but not now. And I don't think the economic provisions should be changed at all. Listen, when they're talking about the resolution, the House and Senate resolution number 6, they're only talking about changing the Constitution in 3 areas. All right? That's the House and Senate resolution. One is in advertising, the second is in public utilities, and the third is in, I don't know what the third
Education.
is. Huh?
Education.
Education. Okay. You know, if you look at all the studies and all the studies on foreign direct investment, you will find out that most foreign direct investment is in finance, in manufacturing, in education and advertising are not part of it at all. So it's going to be very small effect on the economy if they're talking of only these 3. And that is the joint resolution that they're talking about, that RH 6 or something like that. Only 3. Now, look, do you think that opening the economy in those 3 areas, which are quite sensitive, will matter at all to the economy? And yet, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies there are several studies since the 1980s on foreign direct investment, and all of them, Karen, all of them are saying that what is required in the Philippines to bring in foreign direct investment is not that lifting whatever restrictions there are, but in good governance, in corruption reduction, etc. All of them, there's Lamberte, there's Aldaba, there's Reside, there's Austria, ang dami nila. That's what they're saying. And it's all in the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. The latest one is not from the Philippine Institute, it's from Parcon, it's from the Central Bank. There's a Central Bank Research Unit, etc. And this was done only in 2021. And what did the study say? Ang sabi nila results show, and I'm quoting now, that the overall FDI, foreign direct investment, restrictiveness index, which is what is given by the OECD, is statistically insignificant
Really?
for all investors when macroeconomic stability, governance, ease of doing business, and quality of infrastructure are accounted for. This is the latest study which studies 5 ASEAN, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam, and their foreign direct investment situation from 2010 to 2019. The latest study.
Mga kababayan, when I was then in charge of our Southeast Asian business in the fast-moving consumer goods, I had the opportunity to move around Malaysia, both Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines. My sharing herein is based on direct personal knowledge and experience. I am regularly updating my knowledge database on the current situation in Southeast Asia. My responsibility was to have a direct presence in our target ASEAN countries, namely Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Since we are from ASEAN, there are 2 things that we're looking for at the time when the ASEAN tariff or import duty is not yet the same among ASEAN countries. Firstly, if we are able to simply trade, and secondly, if it makes sense for us to set up a manufacturing facility in the target ASEAN country. On consideration by investors to invest in a country, let me first refer to the macroeconomic fundamentals discussed by Professor Winnie Monsod. When we do our country SWOT analysis or country competitive analysis, We look at the country in terms of macroeconomic stability. I would like to confirm what Professor Winnie Monsod said, that macroeconomic fundamentals of that country are sound to attract foreign investors. But to many people, macroeconomic fundamentals are somewhat vague. So to simplify this, we look at this in practice with respect to the driver of the country's GDP being the general measure of the country's revenue or wealth. Is the GDP driven by consumption? If consumption is the driver, it may not be a good sign for the long term. Then where is the source of that spending? Is it coming from the investments or inflows from remittance? Then, we ask the question, is the government spending driving the economy? What are the sources of the country's exports and what products it imports? The overall purpose is to assess the quality of the country's GDP or national wealth. Then we look at the GDP per capita to give us a picture of the spending ability of the population. Then we look at the stability or volatility of exchange rate of the local currency versus that of major foreign currencies like the US dollar. Second is what we classify as political stability and vision, where good governance is a major factor here. Good governance from our lens, as investors from co-ASEAN countries, is the stability and firmness of the political leadership, its vision for improving the economy, the teamwork versus the bickering principally of the legislature and the executive, and the predictability of laws and policies. Ease of doing business from our lens is the simplicity of licensing and permits, the cost involved, and the speedy completion of all that is required to start operations. We believe that political agenda and direction that pursue good political and economic policies and implementation will drive the macroeconomic fundamentals of that country. Third is infrastructure. Quality infrastructure in practical terms is when we observe at our arrival at the airport, while traveling on the road, the telecommunication system, the stability of power supply, the stability of water supply, among others. All this that I say is based on direct personal experience. From the explanation of Professor Winnie, the Philippines ranks last among the comparative ASEAN countries. Thus, it must truly develop an emergent strategy based on what competitive resources the Philippines have now and develop its deliberate strategy of what it should do to close the gap and quantum leap the future as its medium and long-term strategy. Then we look at peace and order. We look at the internal security issues faced by the country, such as those raising arms against the government, criminality, and even gun culture. Overall, we assess if there's harmony in the society to determine our long-term consideration for investments. We also look at the external threats and the geopolitics affecting the country. Aside from country SWOT or competitive analysis, we do our business competitive analysis covering industry analysis like barriers to entry, market attractiveness such as market size, demographics, distribution and logistics system in the country, what are direct and indirect competitors, likely pricing structures, and more. We look at the culture and behavior of the people and the language of the country. Then we run our profit and loss to see if we can likely earn reasonable returns on our investments. It is always in the back of our mind with respect to ownership based on understanding on the foreign investment laws and the domestic laws to see if there are workarounds in case foreign ownership limitations which we are not comfortable with. This workaround may include but not limited to shareholder master agreement, management agreement, financial agreement, etc. To be honest, in my work in Southeast Asia, and even the one ahead of me, have not looked into the constitution of the country. We focus on understanding the foreign investment law of that country and not what is spelled out in the Constitution. Mga kababayan, hanggang sa susunod naming pababahagi, maraming salamat.